Looks like Marvel has finally brought the thunder. We're gonna be talking about Thor Love and Thunder with no spoilers this time. What did I think of the MCU's newest outing with Thor? I'll let you know that right after this. Welcome back to Panel of Frames. Today's episode is brought to you by me, myself, and I. So if you want to support this podcast, 5-star me if you can, but share me if you can too. And also, there's a subscribe button somewhere on the page that you're looking at this on. So subscribe to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and we're working on a YouTube just as we're working on a website. Thank you in advance. As you heard from the top, we are talking about Thor Love and Thunder, the God of Thunder's fourth, the cinematic, I was going to say theatrical, cinematic, thrinomatic outing. Just happened, it's happening today, but it happened tomorrow. I don't know why they say they're releasing like on the day of and then show it the day before. They still do that. But most people can catch it only on the weekends. So I want to talk about that today. That's what I want to talk about today, and that's honestly going to be all we're talking about today. I want to get right into it. There's not going to be spoilers here. There will be a spoiler. I want to do a spoiler one so bad, y'all. There's so much that I want to talk about, because overall, let me give you my thoughts. Overall, the movie, it is serviceable. It works most of the time. Like, the stuff that didn't work, I don't hate. I just dislike. The stuff that worked, I love. So this is good overall, and it kind of tracks with what they're getting. I think the Rotten Tomatoes score is going in between 69 giggity and 70. It keeps bouncing between those two, and I kind of concur. I'm on the lower end of that, because if I give it a 3 out of 5, which is the highest I'll give it, it's a 6 out of 10. So, all that math stuff. Let me get started, man. You ready? Because I'm not gonna go into specifics. I'm not gonna go into spoilers. Like I said, I just want to go into some scenes that stuck out to me. The first 5 or 10 minutes, and Marvel movies do this all the time, we're shown the key antagonist and how he comes to become an antagonist. I feel like, and I say 5 or 10 minutes, but if I go back and time that, it's probably less than 5 minutes. We have less than 5 minutes to really cement this huge, and because he's pretty strong. To be honest, he needs an accessory to be strong, but he's pretty strong and has a strong reason to be doing what he's doing. I just don't feel like we spend enough time with him to get connected to him, especially considering the end of the movie, which I will not go into. I will just allude to enough for you to understand. So Gorr, Christian Bale, first off, man, he looks disgustingly. His skin is peeling. It doesn't help with the white Quan Chi Uncle Fester skin that he's got on. Skin is peeling in the sun. He finally finds an oasis, man, and he runs up on the person or the deity that his people serve. And obviously, y'all know his name is Gorr the God Killer, so it probably didn't go. It's probably not gonna go how you exactly. Okay, we're gonna have to cut that part out. It's probably gonna go exactly how you think it's gonna go with a name like that, and that set him up. But I feel like that whole sequence of him suffering should have been just a little bit longer, because they fade through to show the passage of time, but it feels like they're doing it in like 30 seconds, and it's not enough for me to be like, okay, yeah, totally. And I guess the movie doesn't want you to do that, because he is the antagonist. He's not doing good things, but he's doing them for a good reason. But at the end of the movie, it's like they want you to feel sorry for him. So I'm like, we should have gotten more connected with this character, especially Christian Bale did a fantastic job every scene he was in, on point. And that's why I was so happy to hear him speaking in his natural accent, because I knew that was going to add, like, when actors have to put on an accent, it diminishes their acting just a little bit, because it's not their natural state of speaking. Since he didn't have to put on an accent, his acting went a little differently. It went better. It's like Patrick Bateman, but it's deeper, you know. And Patrick Bateman's pretty deep. Pause. It's I don't know how exactly to describe it. I'm trying to find the words. At one point though, he literally did the Batman voice. He literally did it, like, just for a second too, because he didn't talk like that throughout the rest of the movie. But that one moment, he did the Batman voice. It was exact, and I was like, Batman? And then it never happened again in the movie. But let me know if you catch that. So besides that, we switch from that to what's going on with Thor and the Guardians. By the way, y'all, Guardians are in this jump for about 3 minutes. I'm just gonna let you know. They have no focus in the plot. And I think it's at the behest of Disney and or James Gunn, because James Gunn doesn't want them to do something with those characters that will contradict his plans for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Speaking of James Gunn, we're going to get back to him in a second. But most of this movie is conversations. And you can tell they're improv. There's improv to an extent, and they've been told certain things to say through the improv. And you could really feel Taika Waititi's influence in this one. You could feel it in the last one, but it is ramped up here. Think how Tim Burton's Batman was the first time, and then the Batman Returns. It's like they just let him go. They just let him go. And in this one, you can feel it. And let me skip ahead a little bit. So, because I'm running through this movie linearly in my mind. So we get a lot of what's going on right now. We switch from Thor directly to Jane. And man, what a contrast. What a contrast. Like, there's her life. You probably heard some spoilers or whatever. I'm not going to give away what her storyline is. But her life is just as lonely as Thor's, but it's even sadder. It's even sadder, if that is possible. It's even sadder. And we get more of her character. Honestly, this is the most character Jane has gotten in all three of these movies, I feel like. This is the most she's been fleshed out. We got a backstory for her. She has a whole backstory that we are just getting into in this movie, bro. Her mom, all that stuff. Like, I'm like, yo, where was this? Obviously, they didn't plan it. It was about Thor. But where was this in the Dark World, or, you know, but they didn't have anything planned. They didn't add anything to her character. So, which is why I felt like in the Dark World, I was like, Jane Foster is not coming back, because she did not have a good time with that movie. And I could tell when watching it, she didn't have a good time. This one, she had a good time. She had a really good time with this one. And you can tell by contrast her acting in this and the Dark World and the first Thor, and in order from how much fun she had to the least amount of fun she had, it's this and then the first Thor and then the Dark World. Just completely. She wasn't even in Endgame, even though that was her. That was like stock footage of something. That was like a deleted scene, so she didn't even show up for that. But she had a lot of fun in this one, man. I was glad to see, because you could tell she did great. Down to how her banter with Thor was going, and how they went back and forth, and how quippy she got. She got very quippy, but it made sense. It wasn't forced, shoehorned in like how people see the MCU with the jokes are. Unfortunately, their conversations are the most natural. Probably not her and his, but just all the conversations in this movie, very, very natural. But it is contrasting with the plot, because there are heavy things happening in the plot that you have to give a little room to breathe. And they are constantly throwing jokes. You're going to hear this a lot too with all the reviews you hear, because they're constantly throwing jokes in at points where you're like, wow, that was a sad moment. Like, I went through that with him in a movie ago, and that was sad. And I understand that we're trying to be all, you know, hype and happy. That maybe don't even mention that then, if we're going to do that. Because we're on Thor 4. Of course we remember Endgame and Infinity War and Dark World most of the time. You know, you're not gonna just jump into Love and Thunder, most likely, if you're not into Thor already. Now I'm progressing ahead in my mind. Also, the plot had a logical progression. It really did. But there was a lot of story threads happening at once There was Gorr, obviously, and then there's Thor and Jane, and then Valkyrie is in charge of New Asgard, which she's pretty bored. I thought she was gonna be worse, like as far as how apathetic she was toward what she had to do for the New Asgard city, because it's basically just a bootleg Disneyland Six Flags. I thought she was going to be more apathetic, but she was the right amount of apathetic. She was like, I have to get this stuff done. Like that, she really took to her role as king of New Asgard. Like I have no complaints about her at all. I really liked her. I don't think she should have been in there anymore, but I definitely don't want her in there any less, if that makes sense. Korg is Korg. I don't even have to explain. If you watch the trailer, there is a shot of Russell Crowe as Zeus. And let me tell you, I could barely focus on what he was saying because I was just laughing. I was laughing so hard. I was like, dude, his choice, Russell Crowe's choice, Superman's dad, Russell Crowe's choice for his biological dad. His choice for Zeus, his acting choice, I'm sitting there just, I cannot stop laughing. I was like, why did you? But it fits because, look, I'm gonna just give you a hint. The gods in the MCU, bro, not all of them are created equal, because there's one who Thor referred to as the nicest guy you've ever met, which means if he knew something was going on, he would have helped. And then you got Zeus, who was like, "No, I don't care. we ain't shit. Like, and we don't care. We don't care. Nobody cares." What I did like is when they went to this, they ended up at a pantheon type place, what, an omnipotent city, and there's a bunch of different gods. There's a dumpling god, which is like, that's gonna be a plushie. Like, if it's not already a plushie, it's gonna be a plushie. It might already be a character, but there's a bunch of different gods. By the way, Wakanda's goddess Bast, apparently she was sitting in front of Jane and Valkyrie. She was sitting right in front of them, and I was like, wow, are y'all gonna address this? Are y'all gonna address that is basically who the Wakanda's people worship? She's right there. She's right there. Or, you know, a human, I don't know if she was an avatar or what, but she was definitely a human representation. If you look at her, it's African. And they never called her out by name. We just knew from an early screenshot that was her. And they kind of sideline confirmed that it was her. But she has nothing to do with the plot. I just find it interesting that, wow, she's right there. And y'all, Bast, whew, Bast was fine, bro. Bast was, and then things were happening, and she was reacting like, I was like, yep, that's some Dora Milaje right there. That is the Panther goddess right there. She was fine, bro. I don't know how else to, like, I was like, yeah, they really got the right one, chocolated skin and everything. It's really good. So, actress who played that character, hit me up on this random podcast. Hit me up if you find this random podcast, man. Love to have you on. Top of a lot of things. So, we're gonna go past Zeus, and I'm gonna skip to the end, because the interesting thing about the plot, it just goes, and there's a pacing issue, but it never felt like things were going on for too long. There were some points in the movie where I was like, this feels like a TV show. There was a specific moment in, this is why we're doing a spoiler thing too, a spoiler talk too, because I can't really get into super specifics. But there's a specific moment where Valkyrie, Jane, and Thor and Korg are in the same room and they're talking, and it's obviously improv, and it gets extended. That felt like Peacemaker. At that moment I was like, I feel like I'm watching Peacemaker. This is like a TV show right here. Some of the shots that he lingers on are like wide shots, or like TV shots a lot. And it's not enough to drive down the quality of the whole film, because it's mostly film-like, most of the movie. But there are moments where you're like, did you have like scripts written in episode form? Like, what? How did you do this? Taika, how did you actually produce this? So I'll be interested into hearing the audio commentary for that, like the official movie audio commentary for that. But the end of the movie, when we pass by Jane and Thor's relationship, which is a central core focus, it is, and it is not unwelcome, because I love how awkward they are with each other until they just are like, okay, this is what's going on in my life. You know, I really like that. That felt really natural. I love that, as a matter of fact. It felt really natural. The fights were great. Now that we're getting to the end, the end fight before the final end fight was amazing. The final end fight was not amazing, but it was funny. It was really, really funny. And man, I can't give you anything on that. Just know Thor can lend his power to anyone. As in, I forgot that he basically has the Odin force, because Odin is gone. So when he says things to things, he can enchant them. And it's cool because he kind of learns, because the first time he did it by mistake. And then he kind of learns, like, oh yeah, my father enchanted my hammer, so I should be able to do that now. And he does it. And man, it's worth it. It is worth it. I'll give you that. I will give you that. By the way, and this is really not a spoiler. I think it should have been a bigger part of the plot, to be honest with you. Idris Elba had a kid in the movie. Not in the movie, but he just kind of pops up and like, oh yeah, that's his son. I'm like, bruh, you can't just pop this vein. What the? Like, you can't just do that. You can't just do that. But they did it, and I guess he's a contender for the Young Avengers. He's not a big part of the movie. He's a medium sized part of the movie, but he's not a huge part of the movie. He's in there enough for them to push him towards something else. Like, for him to show up somewhere else, he's in there enough for that. My favorite part about the end of this movie is that they showed us somebody that I've been waiting to see forever. And it's a cosmic entity. I've been waiting to see this entity. And when they showed up, I was like, that is exactly like frame by frame, pixel by pixel, that is exactly how I thought that thing would look. That is precisely, exactly how I thought it would look from when I saw it in the comic book pages. That is like, it's like a 2D-ish, but in 3D. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I was just happy to see that it showed up. And it's not a huge part of the plot either. It's not, they have to get to it, but it's not it itself. It doesn't speak. It just kind of sits there and does what it does later on. You know what I'm talking about clearly by the end of this, like when you go see it. Yeah, man, I've been waiting to see that thing for 10 years. I'm telling you. I thought it was going to be a bigger part of this entire franchise, but I'm happy to see that. I guess they can't do that because the very nature of that entity is like, how do you even make a plot for this? How do you even make a plot for this? In fact, Taika Waititi didn't know how to make a plot for it, so he just kind of put it in there and used it some other kind of way. And I was like, okay, this is serviceable, because I could see it has that much power to be able to do that. So it makes sense. So like I said, overall, everything works. The very, very end of the movie, I was very confused at the very, very end. It was cute. The movie's cute. The end of the movie is really, really cute. It is really, really cute. But at the same time, I'm like, that part felt forced. That part felt, it's like one character signs another character up for something, and it's not right. When I was watching the movie, I don't know how else to say it. When I was watching the movie, I was like, you really you're not gonna be around for this. You're not gonna be around for this, and you putting this on this person? What? I don't want to. And of course the person accepts. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we know what the title's about, what it refers to, and we know a gist of what the next movie and possibly, you know, what Thor's role in the next phase is going to be. And I'm gonna let y'all know, I think Thor is going to be on his way out. I don't know if it happens at 5 or 6. He's this next, maybe in this next Avengers movie, but I don't see Chris Hemsworth Thor staying past one more Avengers movie with what just happened. That's what I'll say. And it's not like he got some kind of sickness or anything, but I don't see him staying after this, after a certain point after this, because I see one more Avengers movie, but it's gonna happen, y'all. He's gonna go away. Hope y'all ready. But this is it. That is all. That's all I care to get into without spoilers. The spoiler vid is gonna be way more in depth, so I'll post that here too. I'll give it a day for, you know, most of y'all to see it. Maybe I'll post it on Sunday. Probably not, because y'all ain't gonna listen to that. Y'all ain't gonna listen to that. Turning to Chris Tucker. I'm not gonna post it on Monday. Monday's for the news episodes. By the way, I'm switching it to Monday. I think that's it, y'all. But overall, like I said, serviceable movie. I wouldn't pay full price for it again. I would definitely catch it at a discounted price. Like, you know, I paid $12 for it, so it's not too bad. I would pay $10 to go see it again. Maybe 10, maybe 9. But overall, if I'm nitpicking, it's a 2.5 out of 5. If I'm just letting all that go, which I kind of am, it's a 3 out of 5. So that's it for me, guys. Here, let me know what you thought of Thor: Love and Thunder somehow on whatever podcast thing you're listening on, or if you're listening on YouTube or something like that. We don't have YouTube yet. We're doing it. We ain't got a YouTube. This is gibberish. I'll catch you guys later. It's been your host, Fox Ferocious, and stay crimson.